Enjoy the live stream, everybody. Pixel
Are we ever going to have an Android rave?
What was that, Flo?
Are we going to have I would do this with Jason because I think I know how you will feel about it. But do you ever, I feel like we should throw an Android rave.
In what sense? Like virtually or in person?
In person.
In person? Sure. You can do that.
In person with ravey Android things and candy necklaces, but they all have little Android bots on them. And everybody's got an old school phone that they're taking pictures with.
Big inflatable bug droids. And
it's just being tossed around.
Is there foam?
Probably.
All right, there you go.
Probably.
Hello everyone. Welcome to the virtual Android rave. Mike, to answer your question, Jason is not in Ireland. Jason is back home safe in California.
He's jet lagged.
He arrived this morning, and if you've ever flown from the UK back to California, last thing you want to do is a podcast at the end of that day. So he took the day off. So which we don't blame him. So
for a week.
Well,
I don't want to do anything for a week.
Yeah. But Mishaal, when did you get back from what was your travel? When did you get back from Germany? It was how many days ago?
Thursday
afternoon. Yeah. So you've had days to adjust from that. Although you travel pretty well. So
yeah.
Well,
I wouldn't say it. There's a trade-off. So my strategy is I generally avoid jet lag because I don't take midday naps when I land or when I arrive. But the thing is, I also really, really struggle to sleep on planes. So even during these long 10+ hour flights, I just can't really get a full night's rest. So when I land, I'm super kind of just in the zone, just kind of mentally clear, going acting like a zombie until the end of the day and crash.
What I do find those really long flights, either the overnight red eyes or the really long transcontinental flights, there's the moment in the day when your vision goes rounded corners. I don't know if that happens to you. It happens to me where the world kind of gets a little wavy, right? But Mishaal, unlike you, my super secret power is that I am asleep before they shut the door on the plane. There's something about the air in a plane or the seat. I do not know what it is. My wife, my friends all hate me for it because I am out. It is the most. It's not an aphrodisiac. That means something else.
That's very Taurus of you, I have to say. I sleep a lot, but I can't sleep on a plane, man. I'm really jealous.
What's the opposite of insomnia? Whatever puts you to sleep. Whatever puts you to sleep.
You're
narcoleptic. Yeah, whatever. I mean,
narcolepsy.
It taps into whatever it is, and I seek out red eyes. I seek out because my whole thing is I want to minimize when I was living in California. When I come back to New York and when I'd fly back and forth, I would take the red eye so that I would land at 6 or 7 a.m. and get off the plane and do my whole day in New York. And when I have to fly back to California, I try to get the earliest flight. There used to be a 7 a.m. flight at a JFK that would get in San Francisco at 10 a.m. And then I would just do the day in San Francisco because I could sleep that whole flight. So yeah, it's that's my secret power. So ha ha ha.
I'm jealous.
That's a good one.
It's pretty good.
My secret power is I can sustainably walk up a hill with a backpack on my back.
I cannot do that. So there you go. I don't know if I can make it up the hill with a backpack. A friend of mine just did a big hiking trip in Yellowstone with a 60-pound pack on her back. And I was like, yeah, I can't do that.
Yeah, it's always interesting to me. It's 60 pounds. That's the exact amount of poundage that you should have on your back of stuff when you are, for some reason. So it's 60 pounds.
Mishaal, a little shout out from X. Sean on X says thanks for the live stream. So
well, it's been a while since I got a comment from X. I have been streaming it every time I've been on, so it's nice to see people are watching it from there.
You're welcome, sir. So all right, and Clinton's coming to us from Quebec City. Quebecois. There it is. Cool. All right, well, we got a fun show lined up for you, the three of us. We're excited. Win is off. Jason is off.
I don't know about excited that they're off.
No, we're not excited, but we're excited to be. I'm excited for all of us to be together. I don't know. It's always fun.
Mishaal, the world's still turning.
You've been on some adventures that you can share with us, and we've got some interesting news to talk about, right? An ephemera, Pixel Snap. I don't know. I got the Pixel Snap stand for the Pixel 10. So
wait, did you get the this?
I did. I haven't opened it yet though. Should I unbox it right now?
Yeah, I don't know, dude. Like, okay, I've been thinking about it. So first of all, it twists really easily.
Okay.
You're supposed to like hold it like that, or when I'm holding it, it's supposed to be like cradled like this in your hand.
Right. I don't think this accessory is for me.
I don't think it's for me either. Again, I have pop sockets everywhere. I have the pop socket holsters in both of the cars. So I just like put my phone in front of the AC and like it just sits there while Android Auto does its thing.
Ready? Here we go. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Pixel Snap. No, Pixel Snap.
God, yours looks more blue than mine. I think it's just my lighting.
Or my lighting. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the point of that?
There was the reports that these things were kind of falling apart, that they weren't very quality assured. So I already feel like very dubious about it. Yeah. But I gotta say, after watching everybody who reviewed the iPhone or like bought the iPhone get the freaking crossbody strap, I'm like, Google, where's your crossbody strap? Like, we should have just jumped to that.
People do like a good crossbody, that's for sure.
I do not have a physical body. I am a large language model, an AI, and exist only as code and data.
I'm aware.
Did Gemini just respond to the question of why aren't you a crossbody strap? All right, there you go.
Just wait until I ask it. Like when I ask it for medical advice, it does the same thing. It's like, I am a large language model. Stop asking me for medical advice. I'm just like,
ChatGPT will love to give you medical advice, by the way. So
that's it. It wouldn't help me with my strep throat. It was like,
get attacked.
You're telling me that your tonsils are gross, your lymph nodes are inflated, and you can't swallow. You need to go to the doctor and stop bothering me. I'm a large language model.
I mean, in that case, I side with the large language model.
No, but it has been interesting because I feel like more people are interacting with ChatGPT. And maybe not as many people are talking about the Gemini side of things. Like the way that they programmed it to be this very personal, the guardrails are very natural and organic. It's like a friend putting up a boundary with you. It's very
Gemini.
I mean, with like these large to get around those medical, like I'm guessing all you have to do is just change any instance of I to like a patient or like a person.
Well, and then
anything like, I need advice. Yeah. So like, if a person has this, what are some possible, symptoms? Like, what are some possible conditions?
Well, I will say, I don't know if I ever told this on air, and we should do the show soon. But right after Google I/O in May, I went back to my hotel room and discovered that I had a tick on my leg that I brought with me from New York. I had mowed the lawn the day before I flew out to California, and so ticks are rampant on Long Island this summer. Like it was a bad year.
They're also rampant where we were at the shoreline, so that's why.
Yeah, but everyone in my family had a tick this summer. Like all the kids had one, my wife had one, I had one, like my neighbors had one. We've all had at least one, so it's fine. But so like that night we wrapped up Google I/O, went back to my hotel, and like I was putting on my pajamas and I saw there was like a dot on my leg, and I looked at it, I'm like, and so I pulled it off and I was like, so I took a picture of it and I went to ChatGPT and I was like, what is this? And it's like, that's a tick. And I was like, oh, I just pulled it from my leg. And it's like, this is what you want to do. And like, and it like told me what kind it was. And like, they're like, what? And I was like, it's 9:00 at night. What do I do? And they're like, go to urgent care tomorrow and ask them this, and gave me all the questions and all stuff like that. So it was a lot of, it was very,
it can be a really helpful aid. Yeah.
It was very helpful. It was very, very helpful. So, there you go. Alrighty. Shall we do a show?
Yeah.
Let's do a show.
Let's do it. All right, cool. All right. I will do the intros and stuff. So let me say goodbye to Flo. We'll bring you back. And say goodbye to Mishaal. We'll bring you back. And let me turn off the looping and let me put on that. All right. Let's get rolling. Hope everybody's ready for a walloping good time. Well, hello, and welcome to another edition of Android Faithful. No, we're not a large language model. We're actually your weekly podcast source for the latest news, hardware, apps, lively discussion all about the world of Android. I'm Ron Richards, and joining me, as always,
Mishaal Rahman.
I'm Florence Ion. Hello, everybody.
Hey, gang. Welcome back. It's good to be back. I missed the show last week, didn't I? Where was I? Yes, I missed last week. Yes, all three of us missed last week. Look at this. All three of us were off the show last week.
Yeah, it was just Jason and Win, right?
Yeah, it was Jason and Win last week. Where was I last week? Oh, last week I was traveling. Oh, no, I was at a concert. Last week I was at the Bob Mould show.
Yes, I know you were, because I'm on your social media every day. And I'm like,
because I posted
their
about
concert.
It's been a lot. This has been a heavy concert month, that's for sure. Yeah. And with I will say, varying degrees of success with the Pixel 10 Pro camera. At varying
degrees is a good way to put it.
Depending on the distance I am from the stage, the lighting conditions, things like that. I was at a very, very small venue in New Jersey, in Garwood, New Jersey, a place called Crossroads, where I was right up at the stage and the lighting was amazing. I took amazing pictures. Like I got to use portrait mode and non-portrait mode, and the pictures were awesome. And then I was at another show where I was far away from the stage and they were awful. Pictures were awful. So mixed things. I was at the CBGB Fest here in New York this past Saturday, which was whatever. But that was outside, and I got some good pictures because I was outside, natural light, like that sort of thing. So it was fun. So good times. We've all been moving around. Mishaal, you were off on adventures in the world. Where were you last week?
I was in Munich for the Xiaomi September launch, where they announced like a whole bunch of devices, expanded their IoT offerings, their appliances, and a whole bunch of other stuff we'll talk about later.
Yep, very cool. Some really exciting stuff. Excited to hear more about that. As we mentioned, Jason and Win are off this week. They should be back. Jason will be back next week. I don't think Win will be back, but Jason will be. So, but yeah, we miss them when they're not here, but they'll be here. Jason just getting back from his trip from Ireland. So follow him on his social and his YouTube, see all that fun stuff. But we got a lot to talk about. So why don't we just get right into it? What do you say, folks?
Yeah, let's do it.
Big shocking news to kick off the week.
Well, okay. I don't know about shocking.
We knew it was coming.
Talking about it for a while. We knew it was coming.
Yep.
Like, I've been reporting on it for a while. But Google kind of has been teasing it, and they basically officially confirmed it at the Snapdragon Summit that they are working on Android for PCs. And in fact, this will be launching next year, or at least they'll be showing it off next year. So they had Google executives at the Snapdragon Summit alongside Qualcomm CEO Christian Amon. Samir Samat specifically said, if we're going to quote his whole thing, said, if you think about the laptop form factor, we've had Chrome OS for a long time, and we're super committed to that platform, and it's been really successful for us. We've learned a lot from it as well. We also have Android tablets that have been super successful. They're becoming more productivity machines all the time. So I think the opportunity for us that we see is how do we accelerate all the AI advancements that we're doing on Android and bring that to the laptop form factor as rapidly as possible, and also have the laptop and the rest of the Android ecosystem work seamlessly together. So what we're doing is we're basically taking the Chrome OS experience and we're re-baselining the technology underneath it on Android. So that combination is something we're super excited about for next year, and we're working with yourselves being Qualcomm, and others on it, and we can't wait. So that it's just confirmation. I reported last year that Google was working on transforming Chrome OS into Android, and they're doing that so they can compete with the iPad. And basically, Google confirmed that they're doing this kind of work. They're basically they're re-baselining Chrome OS with Android's technical bits. And actually, what they're actually doing is they're making Android a desktop operating system, and then they're going to be transitioning Chrome OS onto that. So we're going to have a single unified desktop operating system, which is Android and not Chrome OS. Although it remains to be seen whether or not the desktop version of Android will be rebranded as Chrome OS or how they're going to be branding it, but we'll have to wait and see for that.
I'm trying to remember who was it at Google I/O or was it at Samsung Unpacked? It might have been at Samsung Unpacked that someone sat down with Samir and Samir dropped
Yeah, no, it was a.
Was
I
it
think
Lance Ulanoff?
Tech
Was
Radar. Yeah, Lance Ulanoff. I think it was a Tech Radar.
Yeah.
It was it Google I/O or was it made by Google? I think it was one of those. It was like a random. It was like seemingly a random interview, and like he just dropped. Oh, we're gonna be combining Chrome OS and Android.
Right.
Like, that was the first confirmation.
Yeah, I think and I think it was at Galaxy Unpacked because it was in July. Right here, I found it. Yeah.
Okay, yeah,
yeah, it was on Tech Radar. Yeah, and it was like Lance didn't know what he had when he mentioned it. Right? He's you know it's like he said he noticed my MacBook Pro, right, and he wanted to understand why I'm using a Mac. Yeah, he's asking me why don't I use Android, right, and went into it. I'm asking because we're going to be combining Chrome OS and Android into a single platform, and interested in how people are using their laptops and what they're getting done, right? So it's like this has been in the works. Obviously, Mishaal, you reported on it, but like I remember when this dropped in July, and we're all like, oh, it's coming, right? So it's interesting to see at this Snapdragon Summit, Samir, kind of get up there and say, yes, it's coming, and it's coming next year, right? So
okay. He said it's coming next year, but I personally doubt we're gonna have like a complete version next year. Like I think at best we're probably just going to get an announcement, like maybe a developer preview that like some images you can install on a virtual machine on your existing PC, and like maybe some teasers or announcements of partnerships from like companies that are interested in building or committed to building products using the new Android PC platform. But I highly doubt we're gonna get like a full-fledged launch of Android, like a version of Android for PCs that's competitive with Windows or Mac OS. I think it's just we're too far away from that right now. Like I think it's still too early.
And we have too many Chromebooks. There's still an ecosystem of Chromebooks that would.
I mean, that's a great question. Is what happens to those devices, right? Like, do they continue? Obviously,
especially the education ones that have like all those, their apps and things that have been set up. And schools,
I imagine,
can't change software very easily.
I mean, my kids got handed their Chromebooks the first week of school, right? There's a picture of them all sitting there with their headphones on in front of their Chromebooks, and they love them, right? And like Google and education is a big thing. So what happens to those devices in their lives?
Like either Google will provide a way to transition those devices, because like you can on like PCs it's relatively easy to like transition the images, flash another image of another operating system onto it. But I think they're probably just going to maintain support for existing devices for as long as they can, and then eventually like Android on PCs will be the way forward.
What choice do they have, right?
Yeah.
That's what I kind of feel like it's at this point, because the strategy you're talking about, Mishaal, sounds very well. It sounds a little bit like what's coming up for the smart home from Google. So that's definitely sounds Google-ish, not to fill up the graveyard with more tombstones.
Right, true, but
smart home devices are a lot easier to transition because they're not changing the underlying operating system.
It's true.
If they're going to go from Assistant to Gemini, it would just be.
I'm just thinking about how many things have been long, supported after so much time, and thinking about the Chromebooks how long they've been around.
Well, because not only how long they've been around, but I also wonder how many are out there, right? Like, what does that population of devices look like, and what really is the potential upgrade or changeover path look like for them versus an obsolescence route? I mean, it's a seismic shift, right? It's how do you manage that? And is it just a simple cutover and you just, let it die on the vine and just say, this is the new thing moving forward? Like those are tough questions and problems that they probably are talking about internally in Mountain View and are going to have to figure out how to solve. Right. So, I don't know. I'm curious. I mean, it is interesting, and I did have to laugh. And The Verge in the article coverage that we talked about had some snark about Samir saying we've seen the success of tablets, right? And say I don't know about that, but they've been pushing the envelope of what tablets can do from a productivity standpoint. We've seen it, right? They've been trying to implement more and more productivity kind of tablet as a productivity device, especially on the Pixel tablet. Under the cover of Android, and so I'm curious what this will look like and what shape and form it takes, and then what the OEM partners, what the devices look like and what the hardware looks like. And, obviously it probably won't look much different from Chromebooks themselves. They're just going to, to your point, Mishaal, they're just going to re-image the devices and just change what the operating system is and how it all works and stuff like that. But, it's a potential for a new dawn, right? In terms of what their approach to the laptop marketplace, right? And
A new dawn, yeah.
And I mean the Chromebooks in Flo, you make a great point. Chromebooks in education have been pervasive because Google has targeted that sector. They have priced it. They have done deals with schools and all this sort of stuff. And they've done in the past couple of years, they've had aggressive, kind of OEM deals and worked with folks like Acer and, and obviously Samsung and things like that to put stuff in the marketplace. But, when you have a friend who's looking for a laptop, how many of them are buying Chromebooks? How many Chromebooks do you see in the wild when you're in the airport?
Kids.
When you're in the airport, do you see people sitting on Chromebooks or not? I still see more Dell straight up Windows laptops than I see Chromebooks in the airport.
Looking at my Windows laptop right now.
Windows is still the market leader.
Right.
So makes sense.
Yeah.
It is also still the leader in my heart.
Right. I mean, I say this as I'm doing this podcast off of a MacBook Pro. So yeah, we've talked about that for years. Like I would love to walk the walk.
I mean, a MacBook Pro is a very steady work truck. You invest in it, you can get many years out of it. I understand why you would go with a MacBook Pro.
Right. It would be nice to have a Google-based, Android-based laptop solution that could do all the things that we do.
I want a netbook. I want my netbook back. I want my tiny computer back, and I want to be able to do a lot of the same things that I can on a laptop. But I'm okay with it being at a slower pace, understanding the limitations there.
All right. I haven't heard the word netbook in 10 years, maybe.
I got to tell you, I've been on eBay trying to buy one. So.
When was the last time I saw a netbook actually marketed? That's crazy. So, all right. So Mishaal,
probably 2005.
So you're bearish on this announcement, Mishaal. You think that it's going to come out next year, but not be like crazy, change the world, impactful. It's going to be a slow roll.
Yeah, I mean, because like when I mentioned back in 2024, like it's going to be a multi-year process. Like,
right.
It's not going to be a big splash next year. I think we're just going to get the announcement and like a glimpse at it and maybe a preview, but it's not going to be like the full rollout. Yep.
All right. Well, time will tell, but it's coming. So we'll start the countdown now. Maybe next year will be the year of the Android tablet. I'm sorry, the year of the Android laptop versus the Android tablet. Like my hopes and dreams continue to be. Does this mean they forget about the tablet, or does the tablet still? Okay.
I mean, I think
the
this
tablet
actually
still exists.
This benefits this. If anything, this benefits tablets
because,
like, for a long time, especially, it's kind of highly relevant to one of the articles that we're going to talk about later. But like large Android tablets, a big reason why I think they suck is because they try way too hard to be focused on productivity. And Android right now is not very good as a large screen operating system for like productivity purposes. But by becoming a desktop OS, that solves a lot of the problems with desktop windowing, with multitasking, with keyboard and mouse support. So like all that stuff will benefit tablets. Like right now, like on the Windows side, you have the Surface Pro, right? It's an excellent productivity device, but it sucks as a media consumption device because Windows for a long time has not really been media centric as much as Android has. So it's kind of like has the opposite problem. Where it's a great productivity device, but not great for multimedia. Android, if it gets all this desktop stuff, it will be great for multimedia and for productivity. So that's what I'm looking forward to. It'll also benefit tablets.
And gaming?
I guess so, yeah, and gaming.
I'm sure like, Google Play really wants it to be gaming too, right? So, all right, well, moving on in more seismic shifts. Friend of the show last week, Yanko Rodigers in his Low Pass newsletter had another Amazon scoop. You might remember a couple of years ago, he was he had the scoop that Amazon was looking into moving away from Android and developing all their stuff internally. Well, last week in his newsletter, he shared that Amazon had leaked that they had confirmed their new TV OS was going to be launching this year. This was actually through a job posting that they're looking for an engineering leader to help build Vega OS. And obviously before it was announced, and then lo and behold, today at Amazon's product announcement, they announced their new Fire TV stick, which is running Vega OS for Fire TV, which is their new Linux-based, not Android-based operating system, which cements Amazon's move away from Android. So it is happening. So the Fire Stick 4K Select costs $39.99, so $40. It supports 4K, HDR 10 plus, and they are claiming that it will launch apps surprisingly fast, and will work with quote unquote your favorite streaming services, and will soon support Xbox Gaming, Luna, and Alexa Plus.
Right.
So they're doing everything they can to make it as attractive as other previous ones. So this is a major, this is the major shift to the fact that, now Amazon is, we've been tracking this for over a year now, that they're going to move their devices off of Android onto their Linux-based operating system, Vega OS. This is the first device that's coming out of it, but presumably all Fire TV devices and Fire TVs with OEMs will be running this. And then eventually they will move on to, having this power Amazon Echoes and other devices and things like that. So
except for their tablets, because there were actually rumors earlier this year that they're doing the opposite for tablets. They're not only like continuing with Android, but they're going to be using Google apps, which would be a huge shift for them.
Yeah.
So it seems like for TVs, they're comfortable shifting away from Android, away from AOSP, because to be honest, like it doesn't matter as much for TVs because you don't need as big of an app library to survive. You only need like a handful, maybe a couple dozen apps to be available, and most people will be satisfied. But for tablets, you can't really survive with just like 24 apps on like an app store, right? People are going to be wanting more than that. There's so much more available on the Google Play Store.
You need the library that's available.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Important to note that the UI on the Fire TV stick on Vega OS looks very similar to the pre-existing Fire TV UI, which makes sense. Part of me would hope that they would have some dramatic shift, and it's a new paradigm, it's a new interface, but don't go changing what works, right? So they've implemented it so that it's familiar to those who might use it. And keep in mind that these Amazon Fire Stick devices are low priced for a reason. They've got a lot of, entrenched customer base that buy Amazon based on brand recognition alone. So they don't want to rock the boat too much there. So we'll see how it goes. But it is happening.
I wonder how much longer like there'll be a market for these devices, because like the vast majority of TVs for the past couple of years come with TV like smart operating systems built in, right? So like eventually the market's going to die off for these devices you plug in to existing TVs.
No, because I think people are going to keep their screens for as long as they possibly can.
So like eventually like it's going to die down because those TVs are not going to last forever.
No, right. The TVs aren't going to last forever, but I still go back to, and the advice I always give everybody, the advice that Patrick Norton gave me, which is buy the monitor for the monitor and plug boxes into it, because the problem with the software on TVs is that how often do TV softwares actually get updates? Practically never, right? We've seen how long it's taken for Google TV to roll out their updates on their OEMs and things like that. Whereas you could quickly get the updates on the devices, or get a new low price device and get that sort of thing. Secondarily, the TVs themselves, you think that the devices don't have enough processing power or enough RAM. The TVs have less. Right. And they're always sluggish. They're always a poor experience. So until the manufacturers improve the processing power inside the TVs, they will not supplant these boxes or these.
Ron, that's solid advice. And I agree with all that. That's the reason why I have Shield TV Pro personally, even though I have a Sony
Shield TV.
Android TV.
So it's the best. Yeah.
That's exactly like, that's all sound advice. Yeah. But I guarantee you the vast majority of people who are buying like new TVs are buying these sticks are not buying it for for those reasons.
Yeah.
They're buying it because their existing TV is not smart.
Right. Yeah.
So I think eventually these kind of products will die down. I just don't know how long it'll take.
Right. Well, we'll see. We will see. But we'll see if there's
it's like a way to train people, right? If your old dumb TV has Fire TV, like a TV stick, you're probably going to be more likely when you upgrade and actually buy a smart TV, you'll look, oh, this one has it built in. Let me switch to that because I have all my apps on there.
Well, yeah, and that's what Amazon is banking on, and that's what Google's banking on too, with getting Google TV with those OEM partnerships as well too, for the people who aren't smart enough to know to plug in a stick or plug in a device or whatnot. So I don't know. Well, it's hard. It's the TV marketplace moves much slower than the phone and the consumer electronics. You buy a TV. Hell, we just got a new TV, and my wife was pissed that we got a TV 5 years after we after the last time we bought a TV, because she thought TVs are supposed to last 15 years or 10
They don't make
years
them like
or
they
whatever.
used to anymore.
That's for sure. Yeah, that's for sure. So anyway, all right. Well, let's move on to a very amusing story.
This is very amusing, but it's also very real. It could
Chilling.
happen to you.
Yeah.
This was, oh my gosh, this gave me such a delight. I love a story like this. So basically, this YouTuber reported this week battery swelling on his Galaxy Ring, which caused the ring to get stuck on his finger. And not only that, but it kept him from boarding a flight home, which is a bummer. That's a bummer. Daniel Rotar, who leads the Zone of Tech YouTube channel, posted on X this week that the battery on his Galaxy Ring, his Samsung Galaxy Ring, began swelling while he was wearing it. He couldn't take it off, and it was hurting him. And eventually, a couple hours after he had posted on X about how he was feeling, he had gone to the hospital and got help to remove the smart ring, thankfully. He also shared photos of the device and how it was swelling on the inside to kind of show what looked to be like a little spicy pillow.
A minuscule,
Blow it up.
very tiny spicy pillow.
A teeny tiny little bumper of a pillow. The poor guy was denied boarding because of this ring. And so he had to go pay for a hotel, and then go to the hospital and take care of all this. The ring got removed. And then it seems like the battery, we still haven't quite found out, I think, what happened. He did reach out to Samsung for comment, and he received this statement from a spokesperson, which is, the safety of our customers is a top priority, and we are in direct contact with this user to learn more about their concerns. While experiences like this are extremely rare, there are a few ways to attempt removing a stuck ring, including soap and water, yes, or submerging your hand in cold water, because that's supposed to shrink up your fingers so it comes off. But if these methods do not work, additional information is provided on our Samsung support page.
But if you have a bulging battery in a piece of electronics, I feel like sticking your hand in water is not what you want to do with it.
That's a good point.
I don't know what the chemical reaction is going to be like with a swollen battery and water.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if it's safe or not. It's probably okay.
I'm sure it's safe if they're saying to do it, but like when you're in the moment, like I can't get the ring off. Someone's like, put it in soapy water. I'd be like, I'm not doing that. Like the gut reaction is not to put electronics in water, right? Like it goes against your thought. But
I think that's the advice that they would give to somebody who had like a swollen finger and was having trouble taking it off, right?
Yeah.
I don't think that they're really in their testing that they were saying that this would be a thing that they would clearly.
Yeah.
I'm very curious to see like what the analysis of what happened is. Something tells me, I mean, what do you guys think? Overheating?
I mean, could just be a faulty. Just this particular cell was just faulty.
Or just like a little,
it's not a very old ring. Like I think the person said they got it in January, right?
Yeah.
Like
how
many devices that you got that old have swollen batteries? It's not very common. Not a lot of batteries are not going to be doing that. Yeah. But like I wonder just how much of it is because like a lot of modern smart devices have a lot of charging circuitry to prevent kind of these kind of issues from happening. A lot of software related things to prevent it. But like how much of that technology is included in a smart ring, which is like so tiny, maybe they don't have enough space to include that kind of charging, that kind of like excess charging circuitry to kind of prevent this kind of stuff from happening. Right. So I kind of wonder if an investigation is going to be done, or maybe some more information is going to come out that maybe sheds light on whether this is something that is just a Galaxy Ring issue, just an issue specific to a couple of faulty units, or if it's a broader issue with smart rings. And I hope it's not the broader issue with smart rings, because if it is, that's going to be bad news for the whole industry.
Well, I want to read what Aura Ring people have complained about over the years, because they've had 4 generations to work on this technology. And the first 3 gens were not their most comfortable. Yep. It was, people were wearing them just because the data was really good that you were getting from them. And it also makes me think about all the the kind of like the Ring-Con rings and the other sort of smaller brands that maybe don't have access to the Samsung repertoire of expertise. Not saying that Samsung is the end all be all, but they put a lot of money into their R&D.
Yeah.
So
So Daniel did provide an update though. So to kind of a postscript to the story, that he did get home after 50 hours of traveling nightmare, and Samsung did get in touch with him, and they paid for his additional hotel that he needed to stay in. They booked him a car to get home after he finally got home, and they quote unquote collected the ring from me for further investigation. So I just have an image of like, you ever see Monsters Incorporated when like the guys in the yellow suits come to get the contaminated thing, like they come to collect the ring, right? They're gonna do that. And he said that his finger is doing well, and that he thinks it'll heal in a few days. But he said that the battery in the ring had been acting very weird for many months. It stopped lasting for more than one to 1.5 days at one point, and didn't even power on after being charged for a full day until he charged it for 2 days. He said when the swelling happened, it wasn't even charged. And that there's other folks talking on Reddit who've experienced it as well. And he says that he thinks there's something going on with the battery inside many, if not most, Galaxy rings. And Samsung's been offering free replacements for those who had the same issue later on. And Samsung said they'll tell them of their the findings of their investigation. But I don't. It's not like Samsung's going to give them the report and be like, this is what happened, and go public about if there is truly a flaw with the batteries of these rings across the board. But it looks like there's something going on.
I mean, if it's something serious enough, this is eventually going to happen again.
Right.
Like if it's actually a widespread issue, and like imagine if it didn't just swell up, but like it, God forbid, blew up while someone was on a plane, right?
Yep.
Like,
ow!
This would be the Note 7 even worse.
Yeah.
Even worse than the Note 7.
I mean,
it would be, because it actually got a mandible. Wait, not a man. Yes, a mandible? Wait, no, mandible. This is the mandible. Sorry.
I mean, God forbid he has a little, I mean, like you saw the picture of his finger, he had a little, like marks from it that are going to heal, but God forbid if the battery leaked and burned or did something, or like if he lost the finger, or to your point, Mishaal, if it blew up or something like that, like that's bad. Like that would be bad.
Yeah.
This shouldn't have happened at all.
Another thing to be afraid of.
Yeah.
Because like I never even considered this when I was like testing a couple of smart rings. I'm like, it gets swollen, you can't take it off. Like other phones that have spicy pillows, you just like you just don't touch them. You put them in a container, you dispose of them properly, but like you literally have troubles taking it. It's literally stuck to your finger.
Right.
You're probably like, oh, what the hell? What do I do?
I would freak out. I would start
Yeah.
screaming and yelling and crying because if you get this thing off of me.
Can we back up for a minute, because we glossed over an important point here? Can we revisit the term spicy pillows, by the way? Because
I love it.
Do you?
It's an amazing term. Yeah.
I mean, I agree with you. It's an amazing term.
It's a nice way to say you found a phone with an exploded battery. I mean, I have to say, oh no, it's another spicy pillow. Better put it in a bag
like,
and get out of the house.
The shape of a battery, right? Like it's normally kind of flat, but like it's kind of expanding. It's spicy because it's going to blow its top.
Spicy pillow just doesn't really hit it for me. It's a little more disturbing than
because once it expands, it's more like a pillow, right?
Sure, yeah. The spicy is really what I'm up against. The pillow's a little weird, but the spicy pillow is a little weird. Makes it just a little weirder. I don't have an alternative. I'm not saying I'm not coming to you with a better suggestion for it, but
I mean, literally just swollen battery. That's like what it literally is. But spicy pillow is just a funnier term.
Yeah, leave it to Reddit. Oh, you Reddit people. So, all right. Well, if you have a Samsung Ring and you've experienced this, please write in and tell us. You probably should have told Samsung, but tell us too. If you've had any experience, we want to hear from you. Contact at Android Faithful. It's always good to hear from you about any of your experiences with spicy pillows. Spicy pillows, it's just weird. It's a weird term. Anyway, all right. Well, that was the major news of the week, but it doesn't stop there, because every week our loyal patrons over at patreon.com have the opportunity to help us pick a story to talk about of interesting news that comes out every week. And this week, We have our sad little bug droid that I came up with using. I didn't use Gemini for this one. I used Ideogram. I forget which model they use for it.
Gemini is not very good at the fonts. I've been really impressed with the fonting that you've been doing with this AI stuff.
The use of fonts in AI and generative AI images, even on Gemini with Nano Banana and all stuff like that, the font stuff is leveled up. You could tell it what style to do. It's crazy. I tell it what kind of font to do and where to put it, and it does it. Our little bug droid is sad that for many people, baseball season is over, like myself. But for those of you who are in the playoffs, I wish you luck. But here we are. But yeah, so if you go to patreon.com, you don't even need to be a patron. You can see the bug droid image. I made it clear and in the public for non-patrons who can see it now if you're curious about it. But you could also, all listeners, we invite everybody to create a bug droid image and share it with us. Send it to contact@androidfaithful.com. The more bug droid images. We're coming into the holidays. We got Halloween, we got Thanksgiving, we got Christmas, we got Hanukkah, we got all the fun stuff. Make your bug droid images and send them to me. I want to use them on the show. But getting to the news, we had 3 stories that patrons could vote on this week. And coming in last was the fact that OnePlus devices have a big SMS vulnerability, but a patch is finally on the way. That got 6% of the vote this week. Coming in second was that Samsung Galaxy Trifold leak shows it's serious about replacing your laptop. Yet another story about productivity with devices. That got 30% of the vote. If you want to hear about those stories, and if you're a patron, tune into the after hour show or after show that's for patrons only. We'll be talking about those stories on that show, available after the show. But the winning story, written by our very own Mr. Mishaal Rahman right here, is the fact that Android will soon run Linux apps better, and that's great for Google's PC plans, and that got 63% of the vote. And this is tied to our lead story of the week, right, Mishaal? And I will throw it to you to tell us all about Android running Linux apps better.
So for the past couple of months, Google has introduced the Linux terminal app that allows you to run Linux programs on your Android device. At first, you were only able to run command line programs, but starting with the Android 16 QPR2 or the December Pixel Drop release, you'll be able to run graphical Linux apps. So like Linux apps with graphical user interfaces on them. But the issue is right now, when you're doing so, all those apps are run using CPU, like a CPU renderer. And that is not very efficient. It's tough on the battery, and it also, eats away at your CPU processing power. So it's very slow. But behind the scenes, Google has been working on a way to accelerate the rendering of any graphics that are being required by the Linux terminal to use hardware accelerated graphics acceleration. So going from CPU to GPU accelerated rendering. And they're doing this through a new graphics renderer called Graphics Stream, GFX Stream. And this basically just it allows the commands that the graphics commands that the Linux program is running to be directly piped to the Android host device, and then the GPU on the Android host device executes those commands and shows whatever graphics are required to be shown. They were experimenting with like an intermediate approach before, which was it was called VirGL, VIRGL, and that was kind of like an intermediate hardware accelerated approach. But the problem with that is it was basically doing like 2 levels of interpretation. Like it was interpreting the commands from the Linux side and then reinterpreting back on the Android side, and that kind of led to some degraded performance. But now this is kind of like a more direct kind of like pass-through approach. So the performance ideally of graphical Linux apps should be significantly better once this is rolled out. And this is something they're currently experimenting with in Android 16 QPR2 Beta 2, but it's not available yet. We might see this in Android 17, and at which point you'll be able to run Linux apps pretty much with full, almost native levels of performance, kind of like what you can do right now on Chromebooks. So that'd be pretty big, especially if you're a developer. There's a lot of development tools that are only available on Linux. Android Studio, for example. If you want to develop an Android app, and you got to pick up a Windows PC, a Linux PC, or a Mac OS PC. You can't develop an Android app from your Android device, but with this capability, you'd be able to install Android Studio if Google releases a version for ARM devices, and you'd be able to develop Android apps from your Android device, which is the end goal, one of the end goals for this Linux terminal project.
Very cool. I mean, this is very, very, very under the hood developer-y kind of stuff. So it's kind of,
I mean, there are other exciting implications for Linux compatibility, like especially gaming. Like if you're familiar with the Steam Deck, right? That runs Linux, and that supports a lot of Windows games using a compatibility layer called Proton, which is it's not compatible yet for Linux PCs with ARM chipsets. But if Proton eventually does add ARM compatibility, then theoretically you could install Proton on Android devices through this Linux terminal environment, and you could play Windows games through this environment as well.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
that's
like,
an
there's
interesting.
Still a lot of work that needs to be done, but
yeah,
that would open the door to running a lot of Windows games.
All right, fascinating. I mean, not without some hoops, though.
Yeah, there's a lot of work needs to be done.
Right, but it's the path is being laid. It seems as if. Right.
Yeah.
Very cool. All right, excellent. And I do appreciate, Mishaal, I assume this is your photography. I do appreciate how the bug droid is connecting the cable to the phone on the laptop. So I always, whenever I see a Mishaal article, I appreciate the use of bug droids in the photography. So bravo. This is an article posted on Android Authority, and everybody should go check it out if you want to dig into the details. And thank you, Mishaal, for doing the great work. And thank you to all of our loyal patrons for voting on that story. You can do that every week at patreon.com/AndroidFaithful. And of course, we want to thank some of our loyal and supporting patrons like Linda Barahal Norman, my good friend Linda, who sends in some great bug droids, I believe. She sent in some in the past, along with Anthony Gallardi, who also has been an Android Faithful supporter. So thank you, everybody. And if you're looking to support Android Faithful, go to patreon.com/AndroidFaithful. You can sign up there. You can get access to the ad-free version of the audio podcast. You can get access to the After Hours podcast show. You get some cool merch. A lot of people love the mugs. The mugs have been shipping out like crazy at the $10 or higher price point. If you get $20 or higher, you get a t-shirt, all that very cool stuff. So we support everyone. Go over to patreon.com/AndroidFaithful. And we thank you for your support there. All right, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we got lots and lots of hardware to talk about. And as promised, we got lots of hardware, including some movement on the OnePlus front, right, Flo?
Yes, and before I get to it, if you don't mind, I'd love to take a quick little swig of water.
Sure, go for it. Be hydrated. That is good.
Not that I have that many details to share with you about the OnePlus 15, because yes, closer. We know that the
we're getting closer, right?
We are. I mean, yes, we're getting closer. We know it exists. The OnePlus 15 exists. We know that one of its colorways is going to be called Sandstorm. And yes, the song is playing in my head as I say that. And we also know it's going to have the Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen processor inside. And a thing we might kind of know, but has not been fully confirmed, is what the camera module might look like on the back. We also know the camera is not going to have the Hasselblad branding that it used to.
No.
So
I do think it's interesting as the leaks and kind of peaks and stuff like that are coming out around it. When they've with them moving away from Hasselblad, I think dramatically changing the back and the camera unit on the back of it, I think is the right call, because they need to draw a line and say this is the next generation of this phone.
Yeah, I agree. Plus, it's a very big branding opportunity now on the back of that phone, because you look at the back of an iPhone and it's an iPhone, whether it's one of the older ones or even this new one with its whatever it's called, Peninsula Island, whatever you want to call it. And then you look at a Samsung device, that it's a Samsung device from the back, the way that the cameras are all stacked 3-point on top of one another. The Pixel is the Pixel from the back because of that bar that we've had for a couple generations. So now OnePlus, I think this is a way for them to try and see if they can bring this into this sort of market where we're in right now to compete a little harder for its place in the market by offering something. I mean, I will say, as much as I appreciated the big circle on the back, it used to be a big square on the back when they first started the Hasselblad branding for the flagships. Then it turned to like a big circle. sort of to evoke this idea of like camera optics, you know, a lens is circular or whatever. Like, I get it. It's great branding, but it didn't quite, I don't know, it didn't really mix in with the sea of backs that we have from other smartphone brands. So this one just feels like it fits better.
I disagree. I like the circle better because, especially for practical reasons, it wobbles a lot less when you put it.
I know.
When you put it face up on the table.
I know. I know.
Well, now notice,
right.
notice I did not say which one I liked better. I just said that it made sense to move away from the circle because they're moving away from the Hasselblad. I do agree with you. I do like the circle better for that same reason, Mishaal, and that it is balanced in a way, and that it was so distinctive. And like to me, that circle meant camera, right? And this version just feels like a mishmash of what Google's done with the Pixel, kind of what Apple's doing with the iPhone. It's kind of trapped in a little bit of sameness, not completely, but just a little bit of like almost an echo maybe of what everyone else is doing. So
I mean, I love the circle. Like, you're right. It makes it look like a serious camera. Like, I like the Xiaomi 15 Ultra
it
here.
Does.
Look at this thing. People are like, whoa, what the heck is that?
Right.
Yeah.
Especially when you're wearing it with the lanyard around your neck, right?
Yeah.
But I am just thinking so much about how hard it's been for OnePlus to establish itself among all these players, at least like in the North American market. And just thinking, because Apple dominates. That's just the way it is. And so I imagine that as a company, you feel this big pull to kind of give a bone to those people who are used to that aesthetic. And, you know, maybe the broader conversation is the fact that these Android players feel like they have to homogenize to kind of to be a part of this bigger game.
Yeah. I mean, that's always been OnePlus's challenge is that how does it break out from the pack, right? And you know, Hasselblad and everything they've done with it. You know, I mean, the past couple of years we've seen the crazy trade-in, the crazy, you know, like they've been willing to take those risks to differentiate themselves. Now they've moved away from Hasselblad, and when they do this rollout, it'll be curious to see what other tricks they have up their sleeves to do that differentiating. So we'll see. But I'm excited. Whenever there's a new OnePlus phone, it's always exciting. So it's going to roll.
And I like the white chassis, I will say.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it's going to roll out in China first, and we'll get our glimpses from that, and then we'll get the US launch. And you know,
stay tuned to AndroidFaithful.com
for more news. All right, so Mishaal, Xiaomi time.
Xiaomi.
Hit me, Xiaomi.
Well, technically, last week was Xiaomi time.
Right, true.
All the announcements were Wednesday of last week.
Yeah.
But Xiaomi had their annual September launch this time in Munich. Last couple of years it was in Berlin, but same deal, just different city. So what they announced this time, they announced the Xiaomi 15T series. A new tablet called the Xiaomi Pad Mini, which actually isn't going to be available in Europe. They also announced the Xiaomi OpenWare Stereo Pro earbuds, and they also announced a whole bunch of appliances and IoT accessories that are launching in Europe for the first time. So the star of the show is the 15T series. This is their affordable flagship line. This is not their premium flagship line. That's still the Xiaomi, like the 15, or actually it's going to be the Xiaomi 17 because they just announced that 2 days after the 15T series. But the 15T Pro is an affordable flagship. It has the MediaTek Dimensity 9400 Plus, which until like the day before this device was announced was the premium SoC from MediaTek, which has been since supplanted by the MediaTek Dimensity 9500. Again, kind of unfortunate timing with this launch, with all the successors being announced so shortly after. But still, it is still a very respectable device at a very respectable price. You have the 15T and the 15T Pro. So I have the 15T Pro right here. The biggest changes is it has I got the screen off right now, but basically they have increased the size of the display. It's now a 6.83 inch display, and they've reduced the bezels by like 25%. So it's pretty much almost all full screen around. They've also added a 5x telephoto camera, which is the biggest camera upgrade this year. In the last generation, they had I think like a 2x telephoto camera. You can see like the screen is kind of pretty full screen right here. Like the bezels are pretty small, pretty minimal. The device also has the largest battery in a T series device at 5500 milliamp hour. It also has 90-watt hypercharge and 50-watt wireless hypercharge support. It has like all of Xiaomi's latest AI camera and software features. Out of the box, it runs HyperOS 2 based on Android 15, but it'll be the first device to receive the company's Android 16 based HyperOS 3 update at the end of October. And yeah, the overall, like, it looks pretty similar to last year's model. It just has a couple of key hardware upgrades. Like, there's no real deficiencies on this device. Like, maybe the only deficiency is like it doesn't have an LTPO display, but it does support up to I think a 120 hertz. So it's pretty well rounded, like around the board, across the board. Like, there's nothing I would say is really at fault with this device. And for a price of, I believe, €799, it's a pricey phone. Like, it's a premium, it's an affordable flagship, but it's not an ultra premium like €1,000 plus device. And then you also have the Xiaomi 15T, the regular device, which is very similar, same display, but it has slower charging. It has no wireless charging. It doesn't have a 5x telephoto. It also has a downgraded MediaTek Dimensity 8400 Ultra instead of the 9400 Plus. So just a couple of downgrades for the regular model in compared to the Pro. But overall, a very solid device. And also, like, the one gimmick, the one thing that makes it stand out from other devices is the new not satellite communication, is the local offline communication technology on this device.
Ooh.
It uses their Surge antenna and uses like the enhanced Bluetooth antenna on this device to allow you to make local voice calls over what Xiaomi claims is up to 2 kilometers apart.
Is it just Nextel phones 2.0? Is that what it is?
Rest in peace.
Remember those beeps? The double beep with those Nextel phones?
The walkie-talkies?
Yeah,
yes.
the walkie-talkies.
It's kind of like a walkie-talkie. Like, it tries to be, but like it only works with other Xiaomi 15T series.
Well, yeah, the same thing with
Nextels.
Nextels.
Not like a true walkie-talkie.
Yeah, same thing with Nextels. They only worked at Nextels. So
yeah. But it might be pretty neat, might be pretty useful in scenarios where you don't have any network access, like you're on a cruise or something, or you're out in the wilderness, and there aren't too many obstructions between you and the person you're trying to call, because the up to 2 kilometer distance is between two 15T Pro devices, and that's only if there's no obstructions. The regular model is only quoted to up to 1.3 kilometers in comparison, which is still pretty big distance, but again, that's without any obstruction. That's like full line of sight. Yep. So your mileage may vary in how effective this walkie-talkie feature actually is, but overall, pretty solid phone. Nothing to really write home about. Nothing to say it as bad about it. Just a very solid, decent lower end flagship phone.
And how's the camera?
Oh yeah, I posted some camera samples on Threads. I think the camera is very good. The 5x telephoto. Xiaomi is very good at their zoom and their portrait photography. So here's some camera samples that I took using the master portrait mode.
So you took these pictures?
I took these pictures, yeah. Using the Leica Vibrant. No editing.
Did you add?
Oh yeah. I added there's a mode in the camera app to add like a watermark at the bottom. It's silly, but it's very helpful because it helps you remember.
Oh yeah, the ISO
the
and
settings
stuff
that I use. Yeah, the ISO, the focal length, and everything.
They say so for our audio listeners, the photos have a white strip at the bottom with the Xiaomi 15T Pro logo and the Leica logo.
Getty images,
and then all the camera, the focal, and all that sort of stuff, and all the camera details. And they look like press photos. They look like product photos, but Mishaal took them, which is very funny, which is great. Good. They look great, Mishaal. So
yeah, it's a great camera. Yeah. Very, very good camera.
Very cool.
Excellent idea to add a 5x telephoto.
This food dish you took a picture of, what was this? I see some edamame. I see is it sushi? What is this?
Yeah.
Tuna?
Did you eat this?
Was
it delicious?
It was.
Is it as delicious as it looks?
Yes.
Well, excellent.
Very
Did you
much
pay for this meal, or was it provided to you by Xiaomi?
Oh my god,
no.
Ron.
Well, yes, Xiaomi.
I'm disclosing everything. Come on.
Xiaomi did. They did.
Hashtag ad.
They did fly me out to Munich to attend their launch event. Yes, they did private accommodations.
Did they encourage you to take a picture of the food before you eat it, or was that your own volition?
That was just my own.
Okay,
I mean,
What's your social security number, Mishaal?
All right, cool. So what else did you see at the Xiaomi land? So
personally, my favorite product that launched at the event, technically didn't even get announced at the event because it's not even coming to Europe.
I just want to make sure everyone is sitting down before Mishaal talks about this, okay? Because for years and years and years, I've been a proponent of this, and now Mishaal is coming and joining me over on this side of the room. So Mishaal, tell us about your new favorite device.
My new favorite device, the Xiaomi Pad Mini, which is a 7-something, like almost 8-inch tablet. It's a mini tablet, mini Android tablet that is basically an iPad mini alternative. And
it reminds me of the Nexus 7.
Yeah.
Rip.
And for a long time, I've been on the train that I didn't really care about small Android tablets. You know, I've always been like, oh, I want a bigger tablet because it's more immersive. It has a better screen. You know, it's better for watching movies and playing games, which I still think is true. Bigger tablets are better for watching movies and playing games. But the problem is, as I mentioned earlier on the show, is that they all try way too hard to be productivity focused. And as a result, like, they're just kind of unwieldy because, like, when I'm going somewhere, if I'm going to travel somewhere, I have the choice to bring there's not that many devices I want to bring with me because, like, I don't want to make my backpack and my carry-on too heavy, right? Yep. So I'm always going to bring a laptop because that is the most efficient way for me to do work. And my laptop has an OLED screen, and it's pretty decent at watching, at handling content, right? So, like, if I'm going to choose what devices go in my backpack, am I going to bring a 12-inch, 13-inch tablet in addition to my 14-inch laptop? Or should I just bring this 8-inch tablet plus my 14-inch laptop? And I think the calculus kind of trends in favor of bringing this smaller tablet as, like, a small companion where I can read comics, where I can basically use phone apps, almost like a blown up version of phone apps, and it works just like a phone. And I can use the kickstand. Like, I can even hold it in one hand with this case they gave. It even stands up on a table pretty well.
It's so cool.
And also, this tablet, like, it has a feature that allows you to use Miracast to extend your PC's display. So I'm like, it's not even a waste to bring it productivity wise. I can just use it as a second screen.
Does it?
I can use a second screen for my Windows laptop. So it's like a perfect productivity companion.
Here's a question: does it fit in your back pocket, or is it just too big?
It's too big for that.
Okay, that
used to, just so you know, is not 7.
That is an old. If Jason was here, he'd be laughing. That is an old, longtime listeners, all about Android deep cut. With my test for tablets was, could they fit in my back pocket? Because the Nexus 7 fit in my back pocket of my jeans, and I could walk around San Francisco with it and take it out and be like, oh, boom, I'm going to read comics or I'm going to watch a video or something. But I am totally with you. The mini tablet form factor is so fantastic because it is so versatile, and I love that little hand, that little strap, kind of like whatever it is. That's a great idea. It is. I'm so glad that you're kind of like coming around to it because it really does. And the comments you've made about Android as a media device and what Android can do and what Android applications can do in this tablet form factor. This is why I saw such potential in the larger foldable styles, because this is basically what the larger foldable styles do, is open up to a smaller tablet.
Well, I actually addressed that. Like, why do I think this form factor, this device in particular, works much better than bringing a foldable? The problem with foldables is that, yes, they are technically like the Galaxy Z Fold 7. It has an 8-inch display, 8-inch inner display, but the form factor, the aspect ratio is almost 1-to-1. So the problem is when you're watching a video, like, you have gigantic black bars because the aspect ratio of most videos is 16:9, right?
Yeah.
So you have these huge black bars that basically make it so almost any video you're watching on, like, the Z Fold 7, the actual size of the video is not that much bigger than what you would get on, like, a regular slab phone. Sure, the device looks bigger, but the actual, like, the viewing area of the video is not much bigger. This device, on the other hand, has a 16:10 aspect ratio, which is still, not the ideal for watching videos, because the ideal will be 16:9. But 16:9 would be way too wide. And I think that would harm its kind of usability for actually holding it as a device, in one hand and stuff like that. But that's the closest I think you can get without making the device too wide. So I think this is much better suited for watching videos and, like, reading stuff on the go. Like, I think it's a nice balance. because like I can. It's basically a giant phone when I'm holding it vertically, whereas
So-
like other 10-inch, 12-inch tablets are just too comically large to use vertically.
Agreed. How is the thickness on that device? It looks kind of thick. It looks kind of chunky. Is it thick?
It is kind
or-
of chunky. It is kind of
Yeah.
chunky, but like it balances out with the strap. Like it,
Sure.
you can
Yeah.
kinda
Well, that's a
hold it
case. That's a
relatively
case
well.
it's got on it, right?
It's a case, yeah.
Yeah. But even without the case, the bezel
pretty
looks
thick,
kind of
yeah.
chunky. Yeah. Yeah. So how much does it sell for?
I think it sells for approximately $429.
Yeah.
But
that's not
again, this
bad.
is not something you can buy in the US. It's not even something you can buy in Europe because they didn't even announce it during the Munich event. It's only available in certain Asian countries, in certain Latin American countries, certain
That's
Middle
annoying.
Eastern countries.
Right.
Yeah, so I'm wondering. I don't know why. It's a Wi-Fi only device. It's not like they need to certify it with like telecommunications agencies or anything like that. So I wonder
Right.
why it's not even available in Europe. But yeah, like this is a really great alternative to the iPad Mini, which I've never personally tried, but
I love
small
a mini
Android tablets for the win.
I love a mini tablet form factor. That's awesome. So
And yeah, until Android on desktop PCs becomes a thing,
Yep.
like until we get all those improvements that carry over to large Android tablets, I think small Android tablets are the way to go. But once those improvements make their way to the platform, then I think we'll see like Surface Pro level devices on Android. I think then large Android tablets will actually be worth it from a productivity standpoint.
Yeah. All right, cool. Was there anything else in the Xiaomi world? One more
Yeah,
thing?
so we had just one more thing very quickly, since we'll probably get a global launch later. The Xiaomi 17 series, they announced this literally 2 days after the 15T in Europe. These devices were launched in China. They are the first devices on the market with the Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5.
Yes.
And the interesting thing is they went from 15 to 17. There's no Xiaomi 17.
Mhm.
There's no Xiaomi 16 series. And
Why'd they skip 16?
why do they do
Is-
that? Well,
is-
obviously because
is that-
Apple. They want to align. They want to kind of better place themselves in competition comparison with Apple.
It's not
They
'cause
even
16's
renamed their
it's not-
lineup.
It's not because 16 is an unlucky number in China or something like
No,
that.
it's
Or something
not.
weird like that. Okay, all right.
Yeah. They even renamed the series. So now you have the Xiaomi 17, Xiaomi 17 Pro, and you have the Pro Max. So like they still have
Jeez.
they literally copied the naming scheme too. But like design wise, the Pro Max has a unique aspect of it. They brought back the rear display, which is something they used to have on the Xiaomi 11 Ultra, the Mi 11 Ultra. Now they brought that back, the rear display, and you can kind of do some crazy things with it. Like there's this kind of case that you can put onto it that turns it into like a Game Boy on the back.
Mhm.
You can like
That's
show
cool.
use as a viewfinder. You can like show like custom animations on the back. There's a lot of cute things you can do with the rear display.
I like the rear display. I think this is really cool. I wish more
Yeah.
phone manufacturers and domestically would do stuff like this. So,
It's
a gimmick.
I understand why it's polarizing.
yeah.
Yeah. And the other unique aspect, just very quickly, is the battery capacity, which are absolutely massive. The Pro model has a 6300 milliamp hour battery, but the Pro Max has a 7500 milliamp hour battery, which is just insane.
That's great. Push
Yeah,
the
and the
limit,
regular-
right?
Yeah, and the regular device has 7000 milliamp hour battery. So
Yep.
just crazy.
All right. I mean, someone's got to push the limit. Hopefully that carries across the ocean and comes over here.
It
So,
will eventually. It'll get here eventually when it's safe.
Oh, not the Xiaomi 17 series. We're not
No,
getting that
but the
in
idea of
US.
large battery
Yeah, yeah.
capacities. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So
I'm not saying it's not safe overseas. I'm just
right, but when all the
the whole
regulatory-
regulations and stuff
Yeah.
and all the blah blah blah. That's all
Yeah.
I was
Understood.
referring to.
So.
Yeah.
All right, and then we got some processor updates, right? Everyone's been very busy this month. It's very frustrating, Flo. What do you got from
Well,
Snapdragon?
Yeah, last week was the Snapdragon Summit in Maui, Hawaii.
Which
that's
we're
where
still
they
waiting on
announced-
our invitation, Snapdragon, by the way. Everybody else was there. I'm looking on Instagram. I'm seeing all of our friends are there. I'm just saying, we would like to go to Maui.
I will. You know what? I'll let Qualcomm know that we're interested in going to Maui.
Yeah.
But right now we're interested in the Snapdragon 8 Elite 5. They just
Yep.
jumped straight to 5, a Gen 5, I should say. It is here. It is coming in next year's flagship smartphones, including the Galaxy S26, Xiaomi 17, and earlier I said OnePlus 15. I got it wrong. It's the OnePlus 13. I said 15 because I keep thinking about other stuff. There's just so many different numbers in my head. So I apologize to those who were listening, and I wanted to correct myself on that. The Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 offers a peak speed of 4.6 gigahertz. It's almost up to that 5 gigahertz point, which is like, that's such a major thing in this day and age. The fact that we've gotten this powerful, this chip at this size, for it to be this powerful in a phone. It's quite wild. The 8 Elite Gen 5 maintains a 2+6 core CPU layout. So it's got 2 prime cores, 4.6 and 6 performance cores running at 3.6. Qualcomm saying 20% better performance compared to the Snapdragon 8 Elite, although we're still unclear if it's talking about single core or multi-core workloads. So I'm sure more will come out when these phones actually exist. The CPU also offers 35% better efficiency, and Qualcomm says the entire processor delivers 16% power savings. Take what you will with that. Even if your phone doesn't have a particularly large battery, supposedly the processor will help it eke out just 16% more. I think that's kind of the idea there. There's also some hardware-based AI acceleration, and this is basically just enabling more powerful AI capabilities. Again, that's always going to be a thing going forward because AI is where all the considerations are in the processors. And other things that are really... Okay, so getting into the gaming of it all is actually... It's quite interesting. So I'm just going to lead with this tidbit and say that Snapdragon 8 Elite has Unreal Engine 5 compatibility, which is wild. Granted, you have to do a couple of things there to make that possible, but the fact that it can do that kind of mesh rendering at the scale that it is again, very fascinating that we're at this point of having these PC caliber processors inside of our smartphones.
The lines are starting to blur, that's for sure, right?
Yeah. 23% boost to overall graphics performance, 20% drop in power consumption, which I guess contributes to that 16% more battery. There is a higher clock speed, which kind of helps with all of the performance boosting. Overall, it's just an improvement. It's hard to talk about. I always have a hard time with processors because what Qualcomm sends over is like, here are all the great things that we found out in our labs about our chips. But the real test of it is obviously going to come when we get these phones in our hands, when we see the full configuration.
It's very controlled from the Qualcomm's presentation standpoint. It's sort of theoretical. Now, what is the practical use of it?
Not as many variables to deal with when you're just talking about your processor outside of the bodies. Yeah. It's not in the bodies of the phones that they're going to be in with the RAM and everything else that goes there. So, and also isn't Samsung just going to take this thing and tweak it? Or whatever, anyway.
It's gonna overclock it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. So that was Snapdragon last week. That was the big reason everybody was in Maui. MediaTek also announced a new flagship chipset last week. It announced the Dimensity 9500. Now they're claiming that it sets a new standard in on-device AI, gaming, and power efficiency, which I'm sure compared to the predecessor it does. In some capacity.
If you compare both their language, they're both saying the same thing.
Yeah, 1000%. 1000%. The Dimensity 9500 uses a new generation ARM CPU with the all big core design. So it uses a single ARM C1 Ultra core clocked at 4.2 gigs with 3 C1 Premium cores and 4 C1 Pro cores. So basically, it's an octa-core processor we're talking about here. MediaTek claims this chip has 32% higher single core and 17% higher multi-core performance than the Dimensity last, which was the 9400. And also the Ultra Core achieves up to 55% lower power consumption at peak performance. Good to hear. It's also said to be up to 30% more efficient while multitasking. Again, your mileage may vary because Lord knows what phones will be doing with this processor when it's finally inside. I should know both of these processors we're talking about have UFS 4.1 storage support, which just is kind of a nice thing because I have been getting bigger capacity phones with every flagship that I buy every year because I've become such a digital file hoarder. And I'm not just doing it on my PC, I'm doing a lot of that hoarding and scraping on my phone as well. You know, I'm on Instagram, I'm on YouTube, I'm saving things that I want to have for later. And so the idea of having faster storage capacity is always nice, especially when I build my PC and everything is on par. And then I'll just have all my clock speeds be the same across the board, or at least that's what I envision for myself. 9500 has 9th generation NPU made by MediaTek with generative AI engine 2.0. Again, it's claiming double the compute power. A lot of numbers here, a lot of promises, support for raw domain preprocessing of up to 200 megapixel capture, which is nice to hear because that means that phones other than Samsung can go around, you know, boasting this sort of thing. Also supports mirror vision, adaptive display. Good things all around. There's more that I could read off, but I kind of
with
feel
you.
like
These processor announcements are always hard to parse and to go through. We'll see what the execution looks like and go from there. But it's good to be aware that they're happening, and then we'll see what the manufacturers do with them, and then and obviously bear the fruits.
Mostly
of them
overseas manufacturers. To interrupt, I just want to say the Oppo Find X9 Pro, the Vivo X300, which is expected toward the end of the year. But again, those are overseas devices. A lot of the time we don't really see MediaTek over here, except for the mid and low end.
Yeah, like this Xiaomi tablet and the Xiaomi 15T Pro. These both have the MediaTek Dimensity 9400 Plus, which is the last generation model. Neither are going to be available in the US.
Yeah. So it's good to see we're all on the usual annual cadence. We are a little early, I will say. Usually we have a mid-October announcement going on with this, but it looks like the both of them just wanted to get out of the gate in September. And I think it's because we've got phones coming up, bumping up until Christmas.
Yeah.
So
well, actually, it used to be that we used to have these summits in like December, right? Like the beginning of December. Like
actually, you're right. The MediaTek,
the Qualcomm also used to be pretty late too.
Yeah, it used to be a lot later in the fall, I will say. Yep. Never quite winter time.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you, Flo. We're gonna take
another
quick. You're welcome. Thank you. We're gonna take another quick break. When we come back, we got a whole bunch of apps news and some emails from you, the listeners. So come right back in a second. All right, we're back. Mishaal, we got some interesting stuff about Apple's handoff on Android, sort of.
Yeah.
Well, it's not Apple's handoff. It's Google's version of handoff.
Yeah, exactly.
So for the Authority Insights newsletter edition that I wrote last weekend is about Google's work, their progress on an Android version of handoff, which if you're familiar at all with handoff on Apple, will not surprise you how Google's approach will work. So basically on Apple devices, if you have like say an iPhone and a MacBook, and you open an app on your iPhone, then you can easily, almost seamlessly switch that task over if it's supported by the application to your MacBook by just clicking on an icon in the dock. And that allows you, for example, you open an article in Safari on your iPhone, and then you want to continue reading on your much larger screen MacBook. You just click on the icon, the Safari icon on your MacBook, and it opens Safari and loads up that web browser page. Pretty seamless. It just hands off that task in the background between devices. And Google is finally working on something similar for their devices. They are working on their own version of handoff for Android devices. And from what I can tell, it'll work very similarly. Like they'll run right now based on the code that I've seen in Android 16 KPR2. they're working on support for tasks that have opted in to allow you to hand off an activity and recreate its state on other nearby Android devices. So, for example, you have a tablet or you have an Android PC that is signed into the same Google account, then in the future, you'll be able to hand off tasks that you started on your Android phone by clicking on an icon in the taskbar on your Android tablet or your PC. And this is how I think it'll work, because just based on the code that I've seen, like I haven't seen the full implementation. I don't have screenshots of it, but like just based on the code, the framework that Google has set up for this is how it'll work, that they are working on. And they in fact do call it handoff in the code. They refer to it as task continuity, or as well as handing off. So like they're using the same terminology, the same language. And from the code that I've seen, it looks like it'll work in a much similar way to the way it works on iOS devices. And at the same time, not just handoff, but also working on the ability to share notifications between your devices. That's something that you can currently do between Pixel devices, but it looks like you'll also be able to sync notifications between Android devices from different brands in the future. So that'll be exciting. And if you want the full technical details on why this is important and why previous solutions have failed, like why this is something that Google can do now, or more details on Microsoft's attempted solution to enable handoff between Android and Windows PCs and why I think that solution will not work out, please go read the full article. It's like 1,500 words and then some, that goes into heavy detail about the feature.
Yep. And the link will be in the show notes of this podcast. So you can go find it over at androidfaithful.com or in the show notes of the podcast, or go to Android Authority and look for Android's answer to Apple's handoff is coming. And here's how it'll work. Great job, Mishaal. Good stuff. Looking forward to it. All right. So there's a storm brewing over at F-Droid. This was pretty dramatic. So Flo,
this was pretty dramatic.
Yeah,
this was pretty dramatic. So, and I mean, it's a fair drama because it comes after the whole livelihood of F-Droid. So F-Droid says that Google's new sideloading restrictions is actually going to kill the project. It's going to kill it, which is, you know, another nail in the coffin of just this open Android universe that we have been in for so long. And so that's why this is such big news, is the idea is we're closing the gate on something that used to be somewhat open. So Google, they announced recently that they're planning to test their recently announced verification scheme for Android developers. There's not a lot of information on how the process is going to work, but F-Droid, which is, some of you recognize, I'm sure, as the free and open source app repository, they're not waiting for the rollout to talk about what's probably going to happen to them. So in a blog post this week, they wrote that Google's plan to force devs outside of Google Play to register with the company is actually threatening to kill alternative app stores like F-Droid. And so, again, I know many of you out there are using F-Droid because this thing has been around for 15 years, almost as long as I've been covering Android. It is one of the largest source of open source and free software out there that you could install on Android. But the apps themselves are not installed through the Play Store. They were always sideloaded. And as Google has been cutting down on the ability to easily sideload things, this has become kind of a tricky way to stay in business. And so the controversial new change that's coming is that at Google I/O, you may have remembered that Google announced plans to force Android app developers to register their apps and their identity with Google. And so, you know, the idea behind this is for the safety and security of the users, but then again, it ends up putting down the gates at all these little holes in the fence where people were able to climb in before. You know, it's not that you were going to climb in mass. It's just if you wanted to, you could. Maybe cut you up a little bit, but it's okay. Well, Google is planning to force all Android app developers to register their apps, and that's not going to work for F-Droid because Google's verification program is actually threatening to break the free app distribution. Google claims attaching real identities to the apps, it's important to the ecosystem. You know, it cuts down on malware, cuts down on nefarious actors. But, you know, it doesn't mean that everything's perfect. And so F-Droid's stance is kind of like, you don't have everything perfect in your store. Why do you have to come and mess up our store? Our little bodega just wants to let people in to pick what they need.
Well, I mean, I think it's interesting because F-Droid's position is basically, what they call the right to run, which is basically if you own a piece of hardware, a computer, like a phone device, you should be allowed to choose the software to run on it. And what Google's doing is eliminating that choice. And they're making the plea to say give users the choice, which I get where they're coming from. I also get where Google's coming from. I guess the question is Google going too far to ensure the safety of users on the platform? I guess that's really what's at heart, right?
Something that is like to understand why this change affects F-Droid in particular, it kind of requires understanding how they distribute apps. And like kind of there's two central arguments behind why they're against it. The one is that all the apps that are on F-Droid are free and open source software. So like all the apps are open source. So
and
theoretically, it's transparent. So Google's argument that this developer registration prevents malware by breaking the anonymity that developers have doesn't really work for the applications that are distributed on F-Droid because the apps are free and open source already, right? So like the apps that are distributed through F-Droid are you can verify their legitimacy yourself by like compiling and looking at the source code yourself.
Which F-Droid does, by the way, on their end already.
I don't know if they inspect all the code, but they do. What the second part, that the thing that they do that actually makes them unique is that developers aren't like uploading their own APKs to F-Droid. Like when you submit your work to F-Droid, they actually compile it themselves and then they distribute it. So like you can have two versions of an app, of an open source app. You can have the app that's distributed directly by the developer, like through their GitHub releases, or the version that's distributed through F-Droid. And technically, because they're signed by two different developers, one is the original developer and the other F-Droid, they're incompatible. You can't install one on top of the other. So you can either have the F-Droid version or the GitHub version or wherever else it was hosted. Now, the problem with that is, even though they are the same application, they have the same package name, but different signing keys. And the problem with Google's system is that Google will only give the priority to the majority key holder. So the developer, the version of the application that has the majority of users installed, the majority of users have installed with it, will be given priority for registration. So if you are competing with the F-Droid version application, what Google will do is, they'll say, we're going to give priority for the registration to the F-Droid version of the app, but the original developer will have to change their package name to make it distinct and then register their identity through Google. So that will be problematic for F-Droid distribution because then F-Droid is saying, then they're basically taking over the distribution of that application from the developer. And that's not kind of the model they want to go with. They want to basically kind of leave it up to developers to decide how they want to distribute it.
Yep.
And also Google is going to be demanding registration fees from those independent developers. So you're trying to give out something for free. It's like,
well, the whole
They did say they'll provide a free registration route for hobbyist developers. So, we'll see how that ends up.
I mean, it's so funny that that really bums me out as someone who has an app in both Google and the Apple App Store. It is much easier to get up on the Play Store than it was in the Apple App Store. Having to get a Dun & Bradstreet number for Apple and confirm your business and do all this sort of stuff, which you didn't have to do with Google, which now Google is adapting. They have to get a Dun's number and all this sort of stuff. We've talked, Win and we've talked about it privately. Win could kind of chime in on that when she's back on the show. It is frustrating, but it is a way to whittle out the not serious people. Right. It is a way to, to make sure that real developers and real companies are actually real, versus either hobbyists or tinkerers or malware or people who aren't legitimate or whatever. So I get why they do that. I don't know. So F-Droid is proposing and asking that regulators should take a look at what Google is doing.
Yeah.
And if you support F-Droid, if you believe in F-Droid's what their mission is and their approach to it, they're encouraging you to write to your member of parliament if you're in the UK, to your congressperson if you're here in the States, or any other representative as it sees fit. Sign petitions in defense of sideloading, or contact the European Commission's Digital Markets Act, the DMA team, to express why preserving open distribution matters. Basically, do what you can to have your voice be heard if this means a lot to you. And I don't want to speak for you, Mishaal, or you, Flo, but I would echo those sentiments that if this is something that means a lot to you, have your voice be heard. I encourage everybody to do that in any of these issues, where if there's something that you truly believe in, absolutely have your voice be heard. Call your representative, let them know how you feel, ask them to take action, to look into something that's, we've seen sometimes it has effects. We've seen that actually impact things. Whether or not it will have in this case, who knows? But you strike out at 100% of the swings you never take. So, if you want to support
Plus,
F-Droid,
it's a good time for this because Google's in a lot of antitrust trouble, and this is not. In a way, this locking down isn't a good look for them, which is why F-Droid is like reach out to regulators, because we want to get them on this. And for what it's worth, most of these changes won't be fully enforced until about 2027. So anything can happen between then and now. But of course, Google's already started.
I did like this aside in F-Droid's post where they said, how many F-Droid users are there exactly? We don't know because we don't track users or have any registration. And they link to their post, no user accounts by design. I do love the braggadocio of these, of the when they've got the moral high ground of these kind of, open source, fully transparent, peer reviewed, it's a system that's been working for a decade now, right? How long has F-Droid been around for? Since 2010, it's 15 years. Give them some credit. So hopefully they can find a middle ground to work within, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Well, F-Droid, we're pulling for you.
Keep Android open.
Yeah. All right. Well, real quickly, couple of updates and highlights from the world of apps. I always like to highlight alternate apps that exist outside of Google. And if you're looking for an alternate to Gmail, worth noting that Proton Mail recently launched a brand new, from the ground up redesign of their mobile app. So if you use Proton Mail, they took a lot of user feedback recently and made a lot of updates to improve the performance and to drive parity across features, while also keeping their privacy and encryption kind of features at paramount. So if you are a Proton user, you're probably already benefiting from the new app design. But if you're curious and looking for a new email client, maybe check out the new Proton. The design is pretty nice. It's pretty cool. I'll give them credit. So good job, Proton. So that is out there in the wild. The update actually happened on both Android and iOS. So yeah, Proton is a big redesign. Always cool to see.
It is. And it's great. It's a great email to get if you plan on writing letters to your local paper.
True.
And you want to be a little anonymous.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yep. All right. And then back over for Mountain View, Mishaal, some updates from Google.
Yeah, so Google announced a couple of changes that are related to Pixel phone calls. So the Google Phone app, they are finally going to be expanding the call screen and call notes features to Android Auto. So if you are driving a car and you're using Android Auto, you'll be able to use the call screen and the call notes feature during your call. You'll be able to use those features to, screen phone calls and record phone calls and have it summarized later. And another feature that's coming to more Pixel devices finally is the ability to record phone calls. And this is a feature that has existed outside of the US on non-Pixel devices using the Google Phone app for a while now. But now Google is finally expanding call recording support to all Pixel 6 and newer devices that don't support the call notes functionality. Because those of you who don't know, the call notes functionality on the Pixel 9 and newer technically also records a phone call because it has to in order to summarize it later. So, but older Pixels, they don't have call notes, will finally be able to record phone calls just by using the native call recording functionality in the phone app that Google has kind of hidden away from Pixel users until now, because for various reasons, for legal reasons in certain regions. It's still up to you to affirmatively get consent if your area requires it, or the person you're calling, they require it in their region. But the Google Phone app I think it does play a message saying this call is being recorded when you activate it. So that should probably cover your bases.
Right.
And the other update is an expansion to the Ask Photos, or the conversational editing feature in Google Photos. So this feature launched with the Pixel 10, but it's now rolling out and is available to all Android users of the Google Photos app. And this feature basically just allows you to take the busy work, the expertise needed out of editing photos in Google Photos. All you do is just open Google Photos, select a photo, hit the edit button, and then you got this text box, this prompt box that you can tell Google Photos precisely what kind of edits you want to make. You can ask it to remove fences, for example, as we talked about in an earlier episode. You can tell it to add certain details to it. You can change it to change the lighting, to remove some people from the background. Basically, like almost anything that Google Photos could do before, and as well as almost anything that the new Nano Banana feature can do, you can just prompt and tell Google Photos to do now. And I think this is a brilliant feature, because like, how many people actually understand all the knobs and all the sliders and all the things that you can do?
Make it brighter.
Make it brighter, right?
Yeah.
How many people understand how to actually properly make it brighter in a way that doesn't like overblow, like overexpose everything in the photo, right? So I think this will make this significantly. This will be really useful for the average person looking at the photos.
Being able to tell it to slide something over, or make a change, or do something like that, do it in natural language is very, very cool. Yeah. So, yeah, awesome, good stuff. All right, cool. Well, that's going to wrap it up for the apps news. And we do have some emails from you, the listeners. And so let's get right to it. Flo, you got the first one.
As Flo puts an almond in her mouth. Listen, my blood sugar was falling. Okay, I needed to put something in there. Let's not be rude. Okay. I had to move off the camera to finish that. Sorry about that. Our first email comes from Jeff from Knoxville, Tennessee. Jeff writes, on a recent episode, you asked, who gets Samsung FE phones? My mom, in her 70s, has been using Samsung phones for at least her last 3 phones. She'll never pay flagship prices, but she wants a Samsung phone specifically, and she wants the best phone camera she can afford. For her most recent phone, I recommended the FE line, the Fan Edition line, and she's been really happy with it for 4 or 5 years now. I think there are likely a lot of people like her who are comfortable with Samsung and want a phone with a good camera, but for whom flagship prices are just more than they want to spend. And Jeff, I appreciate you writing in, because it's true that your mother is exactly the perfect demographic for this phone. And not just her, but it really is a lot of, maybe there's people out there who actually don't mind so much like the utilitarian aesthetic of some of these phones. They don't want to maybe pay for the premium look of some of these flagship devices, and so that's when a Fan Edition phone would come in handy. I mean, it's got all the best parts of the latest Samsung flagship, so it makes sense.
And I was the one who asked who buys the FE phones, and got ask a question, get an answer.
There you go.
So,
Jeff told you, it's his mom.
Good stuff.
I do know, right? Yeah, I do know some people who've bought the thing is, they'll offer these too at a discount with carriers and stuff, and so it always kind of sweetens the deal a little bit.
He does have a point that people recognize Samsung as a brand. I mean, it's my stovetop, for Christ's sake. They
recognize it way more than they do the Pixel brand.
Yep. So, all right.
So,
I stand corrected. Although anybody out there listening, if you are a Samsung FE phone owner, send in pictures, tell us about your experience, and tell us why. Email us at contact@androidfaithful.com. We want to hear from you. All right. We got one more email, Mishaal, about the saga of eSIMs.
So we got an email from a longtime listener, Chuck in Thousand Oaks, California, who wrote in to say, a few weeks ago, my wife and I both replaced our Galaxy S22 Ultras with Pixel 10 Pro XLs. Verizon had a promotion where we got the phones basically for free and didn't need a plan upgrade or a trade-in. So I went to the store and picked up 2 to take home. We both sat on the couch and set about updating our phones at the same time. Her phone upgraded flawlessly, as you would expect, transferred the phone number to her eSIM, and moved over the apps. She was a happy camper. My phone didn't do so well. It got stuck in the beginning, saying that I couldn't transfer the number to the eSIM. So I did what most of us would do. I did a factory reset and retried. Still no go. So I called Verizon support. Got in right away, and the person tried a lot of times at her end, doing many things and had me retry, but no go. After about 30 minutes, she transferred me to level 2 support. I waited 15 minutes for a support tech, and they did a number of tries at their end, some of which they went away to talk to a supervisor, but 30 more minutes with her, and she couldn't get it to work. I had now invested an hour and 15 minutes. Finally, she transferred me to level 3 support. Level 3 came on the line quickly, and I spent about 45 minutes at level 3 before something worked and the eSIM finally took my phone number. All in all, it took a little over 2 hours to get my phone to the point where I could proceed with the rest of the install. As a result, I'm now concerned that if I ever need to do a factory reset, the old standby for a fix, that I'll be on the phone for 2 hours getting the eSIM to work. What has been your experience? Side note, as part of this promotion by Verizon, they gave me a new phone number on my account for 3 years free. I just used it on the old S22 Ultra. Don't know what I'll do with that. Any ideas? So I will say one thing is that you probably shouldn't have to worry about a factory reset messing with your eSIM, because there is specifically a button when you do a factory reset that says, do you also want to erase eSIMs? And that is toggled off by default. So as long as you don't toggle that, your eSIM should survive a factory reset.
Should.
It will. I've factory reset many times.
Because that stuff is registered in a server.
Right, yeah. So
well, no, it's not just that, but it just doesn't. It wipes everything but the eSIM.
But that, right?
Yeah.
So Chuck asked what our experience has been. I mean, I had no problem when I switched to eSIM and it worked fine. I have friends of mine a couple like yourself, Chuck, and your wife, who both bought Pixel 10s at the same time. I don't know which model they got. I think they got Pro and XLs. And they did it at the same time. And the wife had no problem like you, and the husband had problems. Exact same story you told me. It's kind of eerie that you shared this. It was T-Mobile, not Verizon. He called customer support, spent about an hour on the phone. They told him, you got to go to the store. So he got in the car, went down to the store, and the guy did something and got it to work. And then he went home and it was fine. My question is, what did that level 3 support person do that the level 2 and level 1 people couldn't at Verizon? And what did the person at the T-Mobile store do? Like, what are they doing behind the scenes that magically make it work? That's the question that we can't answer, because clearly something happens that all of a sudden makes it work. But that was my friend's experience. The same thing as you, where he tried it, didn't work. He did a factory reset. It didn't work. Called them. They tried stuff on their end. It didn't work. And he had to go to the store and then do something. And magically then it started working. It's too much of a mystery box at this point. It's bizarre. So
it is a little bit, it's supposed to be easier. Everything is supposed to, sync so much more readily. Whatever. I almost freaked out over moving my SIM, I will say, from the Pixel 9 Pro to the Pixel 10 Pro. I'm also a Verizon user, and I had a physical SIM on the Pixel 9 Pro, and then we transitioned over to eSIM for the 10 Pro. And I held my breath there for a minute, because we had a little bit of an issue where I didn't have any mobile network available for a little while things were setting up on the back end. But Verizon's always given me that kind of stress, because they are so about like what we're going on with our servers. What do our servers say? What does the computer say? Ever since, they were solely CDMA.
Yep. So it's interesting. So if you've had issues with eSIMs, if you've got problems, email us at contact Android Faithful. We want to hear other people's experience. To Chuck's other question, what does he do with the second phone number?
Okay, so Chuck, if they're giving you one of those extra phone numbers where it's like you're just paying $10 a month for the extra line, you could use that for an accessory, for like an LTE connected accessory, and do that. Otherwise, buy another phone.
I don't know, use that as like your spam number. Like if you're signing up for anything that requires a phone number, use that, I guess.
Good idea.
Start a side hustle.
If you use it for vendors, or for like, when you need to sign up for a service or somebody that you don't want to bother you, or
for crank calling.
Yeah. Or if you sometimes it's so annoying. Sometimes I was looking into services for like gutters and things like that, and you want to get a quote, but they won't give you the quote unless you give them their phone number, and then they hit you with text and things like that. Use that phone number. That could be an interesting option. So, yeah. So,
But a smartwatch or a tablet or a LTE compatible laptop is also a possibility, and that's if they're giving you the $10 number add-on.
Right. Well, it's a question they gave it to him for free. I wonder if it's, well, he says it's free for 3 years, so I guess he doesn't need to worry about it.
Yeah, that I'm very curious. Follow up with us.
Yeah.
Let us know about your deal.
Yep.
We're curious.
All right. Well, that's going to wrap up the show for this week. Thanks for everybody for listening. Mishaal, what's going on in your world, where people can find you and all that fun stuff?
You can go to my Linktree page to find the links to all my social media platforms. I primarily write on Android Authority now, so if you want to see all the work that I'm doing on Android 16 and beyond, I'm starting to collect a lot of information on features in Android 17. So if you want to hear about what's coming in Android 17, be sure to keep an eye out on my work on Android Authority.
Awesome. Very cool. We appreciate the hard work you're doing for all of us. So, all right. And Flo, where can people find you?
You can find where to find me at florenceion.com, links to where I am, my podcasts, because I do have another podcast that I also do on the Relay FM network, the Relay Network. We don't call it Relay FM anymore.
Really?
Material, which I do every week with Andy Anatko. We also talk about Google and Android. So join me there if you are so inclined. And don't forget, of course, to sign up for the Android Faithful newsletter, which I put out every Friday.
Indeed. Go to androidfaithful.com and sign up for it. Please.
Did you like my craft reference, Ron?
I did. I appreciated it. It was a good one last
Okay.
week. I definitely did like
All
it.
right.
Yeah, it's very good. So, excellent. All right. And you can follow me at RonXO across social, and I'm mainly active on Instagram, posting nonsense all the time. So, good times. All right. And listen, you're going to want to if you're a patron, you're going to want to look to your patron only feed to get, Android Faithful After Hours. We're going to talk about the other stories that didn't quite make it on the patron news pick. We're going to talk about that OnePlus SMS vulnerability, as well as the Samsung Galaxy Trifold. And we've got some other stories about Android Quick Share, Google calling cards, high blood pressure screening with the Pixel Watch, and just more general chit chat about the world of Android, because we love to do it every week. And if you're not a patron, you can get access to the After Hours as well as to the ad-free version of the podcast. Go to patreon.com/AndroidFaithful. It's all there waiting for you. And you get to support the show in the process. Good stuff. We'll be back next week. Jason will be back. And podcast, we're here every Tuesday. We're working on some exciting stuff. You might see another bonus interview episode in your future. We're working on delivering that to you on a hot button topic with an insider. So stay tuned. Once that gets all booked, you'll hear more about that. So until then, make sure you go to Android Faithful, sign up for the newsletter, subscribe to the podcast, tell your friends about it, email us at contact@AndroidFaithful, all the fun stuff. I'm going to stop talking because I'm all of a sudden very tired. It's already been a week and it's only Tuesday, but we will see you next week because we love you and we thank you for listening to
We love
Android
you.
Faithful.
Thank you.
Take care, everybody.
Next week. Bye,
Keep
everybody.
your phone charged.
Yeah.
Spicy pillows. Alrighty, let's pick ourselves a title. We got Samsung Spicy Pillow Ring, which sounds like a criminal ring, like a crime ring.
It does. It does.
Android Desktop, A New Dawn. Hold Me, Thrill Me, Xiaomi. Our mini Android tablets back. Yeah, that was good. Our mini Android tablets back. F-Droid says, keep Android open. Samsung swollen finger department. Ron's ads disclaimer. Scoozy me back screen gaming. Office hours for September 30th. Good night, Phil. I think that's from DTNS. Out Chromebook in Android book. Android's Penguin powers. Qualcomm Snapdragon versus MediaTek Dimensity. Begun the core wars have. Cousin of Jaws on fire tonight, everybody. Google says F-Droid to open source. My AI Google Photos editing assistant. And all about almonds, which immediately gets a no.
I kind of do like the Google says F-Droid to open source just because it's a pretty big story going around this week. But I know we also talked about.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the Android desktop finger department, spicy pillow, F-Droid. I like hold me, thrill me, Xiaomi. That's very funny. But
it is very funny.
Mishaal, where are you at?
Honestly, they're all pretty good.
I know this is a hard one to pick.
Yeah.
I mean, the Samsung spicy pillow ring is also pretty good.
Yeah. But then we'd have to have the guy's finger as the thumbnail.
Well, no, I don't know. I don't always do that. The thumbnail
we could show a pillow of a spicy pillow. Show a photo of a spicy pillow.
Yeah.
The thumbnail doesn't have
an expanding battery. The
thumbnail doesn't have to match the title.
I also do like F-Droid says keep Android open.
Yeah.
Just because, you know. What do you guys think?
I mean, I'll say either the spicy pillow ring or the Xiaomi.
I like hold me, thrill me, Xiaomi.
Yeah, me too.
That just makes me laugh.
It does.
All right, I think that wins.
It'll be fine. Yeah.
All right, there it is. All right, everybody. Well, thank you for the wonderful show. I hope you have a great week. We will see you next week. Have a good evening, wherever you may be. All right. Good night.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.